Hello, everybody. Hello and welcome. I am Bill, the company's expert, and we are live. And it's great to see you today. There are two people here. Two. Thank you for being here. I'm trying this live stream at a different time because I know everybody in the world is available at different times. So this is part of my ongoing experimentation to see if I can find a time where nobody tunes in whatsoever. And we're almost there. But I'm just kidding. We are going to be doing some Q&A today. So if you have any questions about careers, jobs, how to pass an interview, how to write a resume, all of that kind of stuff, feel free to ask. I'm here to answer any questions I can. I see that G is here. G, that's very descriptive. G says hello from India. Hello. Isn't it like 1,000,000 o'clock right now in India? Like, isn't it in the middle of the early morning or something? I'm not sure what the time difference is between India and Canada. I used to know these things. I haven't had to deal with this stuff really for years, so I've forgotten it all. But it's quite a time difference. Anyway, thank you for being here, G. The word of the day, because I know you're all dying to know, the word of the day today is loquacious. Loquacious. Maybe you've heard of this word. I think I have a handy dandy little graphic here. Yes, loquacious, right? If you've never heard of this word, it means talkative. If you are loquacious, if you are indeed loquacious, it means that you like to talk a lot and you like to be very expressive. So if you could weave that into a conversation you're having in a business context in the next week, you will be the coolest person in the office, I guarantee. It is 11:32 in India. Okay, 11:32 p.m. Well, I was close. Half an hour away from the early morning in India. But yeah, it's quite a time difference. It's nearly 12 hours from where I am, because you guys are on the opposite side of the earth. So that's even more impressive that you're showing up for this. So thank you very much. Okay, so just to kick things off while we're waiting for questions, I see there's 16 people here. There's a great way of looking at the whole hiring thing, the whole going for interviews that I like to use so that people can picture kind of what the situation really is, especially if you're young and you're new to this. It's like you're a Hollywood actor going to auditions. Okay? Think of it that way. I know some people out there like to follow, entertainment gossip. They like to follow the lives of celebrities, but in particular actors and people like that in the movie industry. And there's all the celebrity gossip and stuff like that. And if you do, you realize that actors are going to auditions constantly. Okay, they're going to audition for all kinds of different things on the off chance that the director has someone like them in mind for the role. Okay, now the vast majority of auditions, the actors don't get. They get turned down. Okay, they fail. I don't want to use the word fail the audition because it's not really like you're trying to do something. It's just that you're not really what the director had in mind. Okay, think of it that way. Now, a lot of people go to job interviews, especially when you're young, and usually you fail far more interviews than you get. Right? That's just a reality. It's a statistical reality, right? And the problem is that a lot of people, when they're starting off in their careers, they tend to take it very seriously. Their self-confidence takes a hit. They think it's some kind of reflection on their abilities, either their technical skills or how they are as a person. And, this leads to a lot of psychological issues. You find the process extremely unpleasant, and it's an exercise in rejection. And there's a lot of sort of psychological factors to it. Well, think of it this way. Think of it like the actor going to auditions. Okay, if the actor doesn't get a part, it's very rarely that it's some kind of reflection on the actor's ability. It's just that the director had a different type of actor in mind, that's all. Or they wanted the role played a certain way. And it's not a reflection on the actor's ability. So I think that's very apropos to think about job interviews and getting rejected for jobs and things like this. Okay, that's something I want to throw out there. If I had any advice to younger people, I would say look at it like that. Okay, don't take it too seriously, because people happen to be looking for specific things, and some of the things they're looking for are just extremely stupid too. So if you don't get it, it's almost a compliment. Okay, so who do we have here? Hello from Chicago. Hello back. Reese Thompson, bagpiper. Okay. What are the key signs, I guess, the interviewer is interested in you? Well, there's some pretty obvious stuff that you could, I'm sure you figured out on your own. If they appear to enjoy talking to you, that's a good thing. If the interview goes on for a little bit longer, that's a good thing. Usually they'll try and end an interview early if they can, if the candidate is obviously a non-starter. Okay. But those are circumstantial. I mean, just because it seems like they're into you doesn't mean that they're going to select you, right? Good interviewers will always make the candidate feel like it's going well, right? So that's neither here nor there. The bottom line is that you can't really tell at the end of the day, okay? And neither is it important, really. The way job searches work is you keep focusing on the next opportunity. You keep focusing on the next application or the next networking lead, and you just keep doing your thing. Now, if you get a call back, great, okay? But you keep moving forward. Don't fall into the trap. I know this is easier said than done, but don't fall into the trap of always sort of replaying things back in your mind, always looking backwards, okay? Waiting for the phone to ring, waiting for, a message to show up in your inbox. I know it's easier said than done, but that does not help, okay? What you should be doing is you're going to be moving forward, okay? And the answer is there is no real sign. There is no surefire way of telling if you passed an interview, okay? Recruiters and the way it's set up, they actually go to great lengths to not indicate whether you passed or not. Now, there's always exceptions. There's always exceptions to everything. Sometimes people will say, you didn't get the job, and make it really explicit. But generally, among professionals, they try and work it so that there's no indication of whether it went well or bad. Okay? So all you can do is do your best. Now, if you feel good about it, that's the best indication. Something I've said in the past is that if you ask questions at the end of the interview, okay, they say, do you have any questions for us? Like right before the end. And if you ask some questions, if they give you long answers that, they seem to be into it, that's a good sign. If they try and give you a short, curt kind of answer, like they're not really interested in extending this, that may indicate that, that it hasn't worked out. Okay. But once again, that's very flimsy. That's far from an ironclad rule there. But great question. G, does the looks matter during an interview? Meaning, are beautiful girls preferred? Well, it depends for what. If you're going up for certain jobs, that would be a yes. Listen, there is something that is rather sensitive to talk about because people can take this the wrong way. But there's actually something, believe it or not, this is actually a thing that they have studied with data in universities. Doctors of management have actually studied this. And the last time I heard this mentioned, it was in a textbook for a course I was teaching in university. They called it the hotness factor. I don't know if that's what it's called. It sounds like that's a very amateur term, but that's what they were referring to it as. And they have done studies where they are correlating the chances of somebody getting hired with the, how physically attractive they are. And this is like both genders. This is, it's across the board. And they have done some studies on that, and they have found something there. Like, for example, you look at politicians, you look at, CEOs of Fortune 500 companies and things like this, and there is a higher proportion of people that look above average in terms of physical attractiveness. You don't usually see too many 400-pound CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, things like this. So it definitely is a factor, but it's certainly not a rule, okay? And obviously, this is assuming that the job doesn't require physical attributes to do the job. Okay? So if you're going on the stage or something, yes, obviously that would be a factor. How you look is going to be a factor. But I'm talking about just across the board generally. However, it is a minor factor. Okay? That's the other thing that showed up. It is a factor, but it's a minor factor. During my last interview, I followed your advices and got selected within the first 30 minutes. Good. Thank you for doing such a good and detailed videos, helping me and others like me. Oh, well, thank you very much. I'm glad it worked out. Chirag or Chirag, if that's how I'm saying. I'm sure it's not how you say your name. I apologize, but that's great news. Congratulations. I'm glad it came in handy. Love Life says, just a big thank you. Binged, watched your videos, interviewed so much better, and got the offer. Congratulations. Way to go. That's great. Thank you for telling me, you guys. I appreciate getting that kind of feedback too. And I'm happy that you're prospering and it's working out. Hello, I wanted to thank you. Thank you for advices. I got the job. Well, that's 3 in a row. 3 in a row, ladies and gentlemen. You're absolutely welcome. It's great to hear. Now we're up to the end of the questions. So if you have any questions for me, ask your questions in the chat. Hopefully you can see the chat. It's to the right. If just in case this is your first time using the internet in your entire life, it's usually to the right of the video or the feed. At least if you're using the desktop. If you're on your phone, then I don't know where the chat is, but my phone is ancient, by the way. This is my phone. This is my phone. This is a Windows phone, believe it or not. Don't laugh. It's a Lumia 1020, and it's like 10 years old. And the reason why I still use it is because I love the camera. 41 megapixels. And this thing came out in 2013. 41 megapixels, ladies and gentlemen. My wife has like the Samsung, like the latest Samsung. Pictures don't look as good. So until something better comes along, I was thinking of checking out the what's the Google one? Is it the Razer? The Pixel, Google Pixel. I was thinking of checking that out. Yes. Mario says, you have given me a lot of great pointers. Still haven't received the offer, but looking forward to it. Okay, well, thank you. Listen, it's a numbers game. I know I keep saying this, but it's true. It's a numbers game. You're dealing with statistics and probabilities, right? It's the odds of an opportunity working out. And it depends on 2 things. Number 1, how many opportunities you're going for. And 2, the quality of those opportunities, the odds, right? The probability of it succeeding. So you can do 2 things to increase the likelihood that something's going to work out quickly. And that is, number 1, apply for more jobs or put yourself forward for more opportunities. And number 2, improve the quality of those opportunities. Looking for jobs on the internet is usually a very bad way to find a job. It's counterintuitive because it's the most obvious thing to do, right? If you talk to a lot of 18-year-olds coming out of high school that have never really had a job before, and you ask them, how do you get a job? They say, well, you look on the internet, you look at a job posting, and you apply. And yes, you can do that. It's the most obvious default thing, but it turns out it's one of the worst methods in terms of probability of landing the job. And number 2, the other statistic is that most people who get jobs don't get the job through that method. So you put those 2 facts together, and hopefully the message, the big takeaway, is that you should look at other methods. Okay, you could apply for jobs online. That might be a part of a job search, but you should also be looking at other methods of getting a job. The biggest one, or the biggest umbrella that several methods fall under, is networking. Okay, that is the single most popular method of getting a job. And they've done studies on this too. People who have jobs, how did they get it? 75% of the time, the answer is networking, not applying through a listing online or in any other means. Okay. So check out my channel for details of how to step into that world and get a job through networking. You don't have to know a million people. You don't have to know anyone. You create a network and then you exploit it, right, for job opportunities. Okay. And yes, I have a course that goes into that. If you're wanting to know the entire procedure from beginning to end, you could check out my course. There's a link in the description. And that'll tell you it. I also have some free videos that give you pieces of it on my channel. But yes. So keep on keeping on, okay? Keep applying for jobs. And if you've been doing this for a while and still nothing has materialized, consider investigating some of the other methods of getting a job, okay? There are several. And that will increase the likelihood of it happening soon. Oh, the other thing about networking is that the jobs you tend to get, the jobs you tend to land through networking are of better quality than replying to job postings. That's true across the board. Okay, there's several obvious reasons for that. First of all, the person that's hiring you is usually the hiring manager, not a recruiter. Okay, so they're your boss. The person that hires you, you end up working for them, right? They become your boss. So if you get along great and they think highly enough of you to hire you, it tends to work out better because you guys click and you're going to be working together. You know, that's the most obvious reason. G, for how much time the IT industry would survive? What? For how much time the IT industry will survive? Probably as long as we have civilization in some way, shape, or form. I kind of worked in IT many years ago. I founded a company that was like a software company, and I have been out of that world for about 20 years. But as I recall, like the IT industry is sort of like, it's got these two sides to it. There's the developer side, like where you're writing software, you're writing code. And then there's the systems admin side, where you're sort of taking care of servers and things like that. So there's these two different worlds that form IT. And I think both of them are going to be with us for a very long time. They've actually, if I'm not mistaken, they've been on a steady increase for the last 30 years or more. Like it's been on a trajectory going like this. It's going straight up. Right? And there's high demand for people in that industry. Now, when I say that, I mean people with real skills in that industry. I know that if you're just sort of, like you're not really a developer, you can't really write code, and you're not really a systems admin, you don't understand how to run servers and virtualization and routers and all that kind of stuff. If you just, you're on the sort of really bottom end, like you're designing websites, things like that, doing social media marketing, things like that. That's kind of, you could argue it's technically in the IT industry. It's just on the fringes of it. Then things are a little bit tougher, as I understand. But if you're in the core of the IT industry, you've got some real technical credentials. My impression, the information that I get, is that it's thriving, and it's only going to get bigger. That's the way I've regarded it. How to manage stress before the interview? Great question. One simple word: practice. Okay. The single biggest thing you can do to feel more comfortable doing a job interview is to practice, is to do mock interviews. That's where you sit down with a friend or a family member or somebody else, and you do imitation job interviews. They ask you questions, and you answer them like it's a real job interview. And you do that over and over and over and over and over again, day after day after day after day, for a couple of weeks at least. And you will start to feel more confident in your own abilities. You will walk into a strange building, a strange venue, to talk to someone you don't know, go into a little room, do a job interview, and you'll feel like you can handle yourself and you feel confident in your own abilities because you have practiced over and over and over again. You've been asked every question possible. And you've dealt with different types of interviews, like the sort of stress interview, the friendly interview. That's how you gain confidence. You gain confidence through ability. Okay. Now, a lot of people don't like that answer. They want like just something you can do in 2 minutes that will instantly make you more confident. I mean, maybe there's a pill you can take, right? To do that. But people usually don't like that answer. They want to hear something like a quick fix. And unfortunately, in my experience, there is no quick fix. You just have to get good at something. Once you're good at something and you're good at something and you believe it, nobody could convince you that you aren't. You know what I mean? It also comes with time, right? Like if you go to many job interviews over the years, after 5 years or something, you tend to get better at it. Because they always ask the same questions. It's the same type of thing over and over again. They may say different words, but it's essentially the same question. And there's only a handful of them. You're welcome, Mario. Because some people are saying that AI would take over the IT jobs like coding. No. You can quote me on that. Quote me on that in 20 years. Bill said no. I actually like I went to school for electrical engineering. I have a degree in electrical engineering, which is not quite computer engineering, but it's very close to it. And no, I mean, you have to tell the computer what to do. And computers are not creative. And they won't be in the foreseeable future. I mean, AI, like what they call AI now, artificial intelligence, is not really intelligence. It's a predetermined algorithm, right? It's like saying, try this, and if that doesn't work, try this. If that doesn't work, and then try this, and then if that doesn't work, show this message saying I'm all out of ideas. Now, is that intelligence? No. Can that come up with something that has never been seen before? No, it can't. We are a long, long way to computers actually being able to run things. They can automate things. They can do something that you would teach like a 5-year-old to do, But no, they can only really do what they've been told to do. That's it. So that really limits what you can do with them. Don't get me wrong. You can automate quite a lot of things, but this is what everybody says in every generation. They were saying this 150 years ago, okay? When technology was progressing. They've been saying this since the Industrial Revolution, okay? Like in the 1700s. That, oh no, machines are coming in. They will get rid of all the jobs, and then we will all be unemployed. That's what people have been saying since the Industrial Revolution. Every generation has been saying that as each new wave of technology has come in. And it never happens. In fact, it increases the need for people because it opens up so many opportunities to create wealth, right? We can do things bigger, better, faster, okay? What that means is that people are increasingly shifting into thinking work instead of doing work, okay? Anyway, that's like a whole discussion. You could do like a 4-hour lecture on this, and I'm not going to, but the easy answer is no. If anything, it will create opportunities. And if you don't believe me on this, look at what's happened over the last 50 years, okay? Computers have been with us. They started in the 1970s in large corporations doing payroll and things like this. They've gradually expanded outwards to almost every aspect of business and the economy. And if you look at the number of jobs and the number of the amount of wealth in the economy, it's just gone like this. And more people are employed because as it grows, it creates more opportunities. Okay? But there is change. It doesn't create the same types of jobs. It creates different jobs. So there's a little bit of upheaval. But there's always going to be upheaval. Okay? So don't be afraid. Okay, it's going to be okay. Philip Miranda says, "You're the best with your videos. I got a great job. Thanks a lot. Congratulations. Way to go. You obviously did a great job, with your application and with interviewing and all that. So way to go. You should be very proud." Someone says, trying in product management domain transition. Can you share a Q&A for interviews? What? Tying in product management domain. Okay. Let's do a little experiment here. You want to know how to do this? Let's see here. Okay, we all know what loquacious means, right? Okay, so here's what you do. You go to Google. Let's see if I can go to Google. In this tiny little screen I've got going, okay? I'm trying to do it in such a way that you can see what I'm doing here. Let's get rid of this. Okay, so at the search box. So what are you doing here? Your product management. Okay, now you need to know the name of your job, okay? So product management job interview questions. Okay, well that didn't work. What the hell is going on here? So let's try that again. Attempt number 2. Product management job interview questions. Enter. So you've got a couple of ads, right? Okay. Here you go. Let's try this. Revealing product manager interview questions. Okay. Now read this article, right? Here's some, I don't know, it's got a bunch of things here. What does a product manager do? Right? How would you figure it out? Like things like, I don't know, the stuff in this article. Now go down all the results you get for Google, and that'll be a good start. Okay. I'm not going to give you a list of questions other than if you look at the main playlist I have on my channel called Get Hired, all the standard ones, tell me about yourself. Why should we hire you? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? How do you handle stress? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Okay. And then all the behavioral interview questions where they ask you about a specific situation you've been in and how you did something, how you solved a problem, how you handled stress, how you handled conflict with a coworker, how you handled conflict with a boss, things like this. How have you displayed creativity on the job? Something like that, right? These are all standard questions, and all you have to do is learn the answers to those, practice them. And then if you do have a very specific job in mind that you think they might ask you some very specific technical questions, go to Google, like I just did, and enter in the job title and then job interview questions and see if a list pops up that's specific to that role. Okay? You do that, you practice that for days and days and days with the help of a friend, you will be fine. Where are we here? Will do. Good. You should often do this live session. It's amazing to get answers from an expert. Thank you, sir. I do this. I've been doing the live stream once a week at this time, like on Wednesdays. I started out at 9 a.m. and then I moved it to 11 a.m. and I'm doing this one at 1 p.m. where I am. So I still haven't figured out the right time slot, but I'm on Wednesdays. And these are posted after the fact on my second YouTube channel, The Company's Expert 2. Okay? So you know what? Let's do this together. The Company's Expert 2. And if you go here, computer is very slow today, but you get this. This is my other channel. So here's the live streams. So you can watch them. I also got a bunch of other videos on here too, if you're interested. But yeah, check that out. If you like the live streams, that's where they all end up. You can see all of them if you wish. And I'm here every Wednesday. I'm here every Wednesday with my comedy tap dance act where I talk about business. Rebecca German says, would I practice too much mock-up interviews? I tend to overthink. Am I prepared well enough? Now, you are practicing with another person, right? That's the whole point. It doesn't matter what you're thinking about. What matters is, do you have a snappy answer to the question? Okay? If you're doing a mock interview with somebody else, like say a friend or a family member or whoever, right? Executives do this with high-level HR people that charge for this service. They charge a lot of money per hour to provide this service for executives. You can just get a friend or a family member. And the thing is, in the beginning, you probably will tell them, look, here's a list of questions. Just ask me these questions, right? And I'm just going to see if I can remember the answer, right? Then when it gets a little bit more advanced, you would say, look, go and, take 5 or 10 minutes, or maybe just 5 minutes, write down, a few questions of your own, like maybe go on Google or whatever and like look for job interview questions. You make the list of questions, then you ask them to me, and we're going to see how well I can do this, right? Okay. So it doesn't matter what you're thinking, if you're overthinking or overanalyzing or whatever. What matters is, can you answer the questions? Can you remember the type of thing to say? And you can even ask your buddy that you're doing the interview with, what did they think? How did they think you did? Right? When executives do this with HR professionals, part of the value, other than just practice, is getting the feedback from the HR professional on how they think you did. Okay? Sometimes it's valuable. Sometimes it kind of isn't, but it's something you can take into consideration. Okay? If they say something like, well, I think you answered the questions okay, but you seem really nervous, or you're very hesitant. When I ask the question, it takes you at least 30 seconds of stuttering and waffling before you actually get to your answer. Maybe try and cut that down and get right to your answer immediately. So that can help, okay? Doesn't matter what you're thinking, it matters how you perform. And just between you and me and everyone else here, it's like everybody's nervous as hell during an interview. Everybody is feeling anxiety to a degree. Even people that have been doing it for years, they feel anxiety. It's just like public speaking, Even if you've been public speaking for years, you still feel nervous doing it if you're normal. Think of like teachers. They get up in front of a room full of people every day and do it for the whole day. Even they still feel a little nervous doing it. They get up there and they think, I haven't prepared my lesson plan as thoroughly as I would have liked. Do I have enough material to talk about for 3 hours before lunchtime? I can't remember what I'm supposed to do and I don't have my notes with me. They get nervous, right? Even if you've been doing it for years and that's your chosen profession. And I'm speaking from experience here. So don't worry about it. Doesn't matter what you feel to a point. It matters how you perform. And a lot of people, they come across a lot better than what they feel they do. Amina says, I've been failing my interviews due to interview anxiety. I blank despite my knowledge. I'm so embarrassed. I don't know how to overcome it. Well, Amina, like I was saying before, the way to overcome it is practice. Okay? You are normal. It is not normal for a stranger to put you on the spot and, kind of be staring at you and, you're just totally comfortable with it. That's not a normal situation to be in. Okay? I've spoken about this before. When humans evolved, when they developed, when we were like cavemen and cave people, it's like, if you came across a group of strangers that you didn't know that were all staring at you, that was bad. That meant they're either about to kill you or they're about to steal all your food or, whatever. So we have evolved this reaction where we are very uncomfortable in those types of situations. It means you're normal. Now, with practice, we can largely overcome that and we can start to feel mostly comfortable in that situation if you practice enough and you have some self-confidence. but you get self-confidence by having it prove that you're good. Okay. And how do you do that? You practice. You do it a lot. Okay. It's like anything in life. Practice makes perfect. If there's something you want to do, okay, you can do it. It's just a question of how much practice is going to be required to master it. Okay. Or at least to fake it, to be decent at it. Okay. That's it. Now, the good news is that this is a life skill. Okay. If you put in the work now, because you've got job interviews to do, the benefit will last you the rest of your life, and it will not just be limited to job interviews. You will have more confidence in your ability to speak to strangers. You will have more abilities in your public speaking abilities. You will have less social anxiety. You'll have more confidence, all that kind of stuff, okay? So it requires putting a bit of time in. But it's the thing to do. It's the way to beat this. And there will be many, many benefits to doing it. So think of it as an opportunity. Okay. This situation is upon you. Take advantage of it to develop these skills. And they will also help you in your career. People that tend to get promoted, people that tend to be put in roles where they have to manage people, they have to have slightly more advanced interpersonal skills and communication skills. And one part of that is things like public speaking skills, where you're nervous, but you have to speak to people anyway, right? So don't sweat it, just practice, okay? Rehearse with a friend or a family member. That can really help. It can simulate a job interview. If you do a mock interview with a friend or family member, you will start to feel nervous because it's simulating a real job interview. It starts to feel a little bit real, right? But you're in a carefully controlled environment. You're with someone who you know, right? So you can sort of manage the environment and get more comfortable with it. And then at the end of this, if you can do mock interviews where you don't really feel nervous at all, then when you go to a real interview, you'll feel a little nervous, but it will not be anywhere near what you felt before. Okay, that's how that stuff works. Doug says, if I'm not offered the job during the interview, I never get the job. Okay. I mean, it depends. It's like, there's a lot of different types of jobs, and a lot of jobs require more than one interview. So, if you're going for sort of lower level jobs, usually they have like one interview and that's it. And then it makes sense that they would say at the interview, yeah, you got it, or you didn't. For professional type jobs, usually it takes more than one interview, depending what your level you're at. And, they do their best not to tell you, right? It's a very cowardly thing on the part of a lot of recruiters. They are not particularly good at delivering bad news to people in a professional way. So they do everything in their power, including very underhanded, unprofessional things, to avoid that. That's what we see when recruiters ghost everybody, because they just don't have the guts or the ability to deliver bad news in a professional, positive way that doesn't piss everyone off. You know what I mean? Like, I've dealt with some absolute masters of HR. I've been told I didn't get a job. I was told I didn't get a CEO job about 15 years ago or something, but it was done in such a way that it's like, I didn't feel bad at all. Like, it was a very desirable job, but I didn't feel bad because they did it in such a respectful way. What they said to me was logical, and they said it in a very nice way that showed that they respected me. They had very good communication skills, very good interpersonal skills, a lot better than mine. I'm not the world's greatest speaker, as you can probably tell, but these people, like this person in particular, was an absolute master of communication. It's like, holy crap, I didn't think that was possible. I walked out of there feeling good. You wouldn't have thought so, but it wouldn't have thought it'd be possible, but it was. But I'm saying that's how great communication skills looks like. Right? And that's the furthest thing from a lot of people that do recruiting on a lower level. Ghosting people, or they're just so gruff and blunt, no, I didn't get it, and they're kind of offensive as they say this. You almost wish they didn't tell you. Right? That's a big problem with HR today, because a lot of people are so bad at it, and we're getting worse. I'm just in the course of my life. How people behaved when I was interviewing for jobs when I was in my 20s versus now. It's like, yeah, we're actually worse. From what people report to me about their job interview experiences, that's like way worse than I ever experienced at that age. People have less professionalism, less ability, less courtesy. That seems to be the... Now, if ever there was a reason to try and explore alternative ways to get a job, that's it. Right there. Shri says, I'm going for an interview in a meat processing plant. It's a very big company. Okay, well, one of the things I imagine, apart from the technical side of it, okay, I'm sure there might be some technical questions. How do you operate this machine? What do you do in the process of, being a meat plant processor or operator, whatever the job is? In addition to the technical stuff, they want to make sure that you're committed, that you're trustworthy, that if you get this job, you will want to be here, you enjoy this type of work, you get along well with people, you get along well with your boss. If your boss tells you to do something, you won't have any problems with it. You'll just do it. You can communicate reasonably well. If there's an issue, you can bring it up in a professional way that will not cause an issue and will be quite clear, and work with people to solve problems. Like that's the basic stuff that they're looking for, right? So they're going to ask you probably a bunch of roundabout questions that basically all they're trying to do is they're trying to see signs of the things I just mentioned, right? That's really what they're looking for. Okay. And if you get the interview, like I've said many times before, that signals that on your resume, all your technical qualifications, like any education you have or any experience you have, that's all fine. That meets the requirements. Now they want to know what type of person you are. Okay, so Shri continues, and they have 3 rounds. They say they will give me a 30-minute scenario questions. Can you tell me how to do them, please? Well, okay. Look, I'm not a fan of putting words in people's mouths. I'll give you a sort of structure or a type of answer, but I'm not a fan. I know there's other people on the internet that say, if they ask you this question, just say this exact paragraph and you'll get the job. I've never been a fan of that. It's completely dishonest. But listen, okay, the question you asked, there's usually, like I said, there's only a handful of things that they're always looking for. So scenarios, typical scenarios are like, have you ever had a conflict with your boss? How did you resolve it? Okay, so you think of a story from your past where you did that really well. Have you ever had an issue with another person, like a coworker, or not necessarily because of a person, but just a situation at work? There was an issue that came up. How did you resolve it? What did you do? Okay. Maybe there was a medical emergency. Maybe somebody got injured. Maybe a machine exploded. Maybe, a sort of heated argument broke out between 2 coworkers right next to you. Maybe there was violence in the workplace. Maybe, your boss asked you to do something completely unreasonable and you had to sort of go to your boss and try and, because it's an issue, you can't just simply do it. How did you resolve it? Things like this. Maybe you were late for work one day. What did you do? How did you resolve that issue? Things like this, right? They're going to ask you questions like that. So the thing to do, I've done videos on this. The thing to do is to think of 5 success stories from your past on the job This happened at work, but we took care of it. Everything went perfect. I resolved it. Think of like 5 stories like that. And then think of 5 kind of failures, okay, where things went wrong, but you saved the day, okay, somehow, right? Oh no, this coworker didn't show up for work, so I had to take over their job for half a day, but I'm not really trained on everything they do. So how do we resolve it? And you tell a story about how you got together with a couple of other employees and you knew how to do some of the job, but they knew how to do the other parts of it. So between all 3 of you, you coordinated, you took care of everything, did everything that had to be done. Problem solved. Think of stories like this, okay? And then come with 5 success stories and 5 failure stories that you fixed. And then whatever questions they ask you about scenarios, you're going to pull out one of those 10. You're going to adapt one of those 10 to answer any question they throw at you. Okay? For example, the thing I just said, someone didn't show up for work. You and 2 other coworkers basically did their job for them that morning. And that way, when they arrived at work, everything went back to normal and there was no issues. If they ask you, tell me about a time you showed initiative, you could pull out that story. If they say, tell me about a time that you had to work together with other coworkers to solve a problem, you pull out that story. Every time if they ask you, tell me about a time when, you were asked to go above and beyond your strict job duties, but you did, you pull out that story. Okay. So you see it fits. It's an answer to multiple questions. So practice like 10 stories from your past. Think of what they are, rehearse them over and over. And then when you go there and they ask you behavioral questions, like a scenario, tell me about a time when this happened to you, you pull out those. Okay? If it's a scenario of like, what would you do? And it's a technical question, then you shouldn't need advice from me. If you know how to do your job as a meat plant worker, then you'll just be able to say, well, the first thing I do is this, and I do that, then I do that. That's how we do this particular task. Those are usually the easier questions. And the fact that you're at the interview means that you meet the experience and requirements that they're looking for. So those shouldn't be too much of a problem. Oh, I got a dry mouth. But I have my Red Bull, and that's the important thing. Oh, Elysium, sweet nectar of the gods. Is that a good thing to say? Gagan Sharma says, I'm facing 300 plus rejection due to visa sponsorship in Europe, even though my skills matches with the job profile. How to convince recruiters to consider me? Simple. Avoid the recruiters and do networking. Okay. That's the solution to that problem. Okay. It's like changing careers. Okay. If you're changing careers, you've been a teacher for 30 years and now you want to be a meat plant operator. Okay. As an example, you apply for a job as a meat plant operator. The first question recruiters will have is, how many years experience do you have in working in a meat plant? And the answer, of course, is 0, because you're changing careers. And they say, oh, well, with 0 experience, I'm sorry, you're not qualified for this job. And it's an instant rejection. Now, if that was the only way people got a job, no one would ever change careers, right? The way people change careers is they avoid recruiters. They go right to the hiring manager, the boss. And they say, look, I've been a teacher for 20 years. However, my father was a meat plant operator. When I was young, I apprenticed in a meat plant operator. I'm passionate about working in a meat plant. I have a degree in food processing, and I know about, all the steps that you do in a meat plant and why it's laid out like that and how it works. And you know what? I just have a burning passion to do this. I know I'd be a great meat plant operator. I'm just looking for someone to give me a chance, right? And if you go to a hiring manager and coincidentally, they just happen to be looking to hire somebody for that role. And you present yourself in a professional, proper way. They can end up saying, sure, I'll give you a chance. You seem like a nice person. You seem to know a lot about it. You seem to be genuine. Yeah, we'll try it. We'll try it out. I'll give you a shot. And that's how people change careers. You don't change careers by going to a recruiter, right? You change careers by doing networking, by contacting a hiring manager and making a pitch, essentially, for yourself, right? That's one of the reasons to do networking. It's the way to get a job. The only problem is that it's less intuitive, and a lot of people figure this out later on in their careers. Okay, so this is yet another situation where you would be doing that. Instead of saying, I have a passion to be a meat plant operator, you'd say, like, look, I'm getting a visa sponsorship. I don't know the details of immigration in Europe, but this is my situation. I have a passion for doing this. I have some experience in doing that. I know I'd be able to really do a great job for you in this. And I'm just looking for someone to give me a chance. And, and you make your case. Now, I'm not an expert when it comes to immigration, especially for different countries that I'm not in. But what I do know is that the super important thing is a reference or referral that's local in that country. So if you're trying to get a job in, say, Switzerland, having a reference from an employer in Switzerland, I know is very important. Okay? If you don't have any references that are from the host country that you're trying to get a job in, that's a problem. That a lot of people will see that as a red flag. So trying to get that reference is really important. Now, you may want to not look for a job directly, but look for a reference directly. Okay? Instead of approaching a hiring manager and saying, give me a job, you would say, could I have a tour? Or could I volunteer? Or, could I, like there's other things that you could maybe do. So it's a little bit, smaller scale than asking someone to give you a job. But what you do get is you do get a reference. You get someone who can vouch for you and say, look, yeah, I've dealt with this person and they're good. They've been professional. They seem to know their stuff. They're a great communicator. And then you get that reference in the host country, and using that, then it's a lot easier to get a job. Okay, so you might have to do like a two-step or two-stage kind of thing there. Okay, but these are all things to learn. Like learn about how to get a job through networking. Okay, like I keep saying, yes, I'm going to plug it again. I do have that course that gives you the whole shebang on how to do this stuff. You can also, you don't have to get my course necessarily. You can try and learn the stuff by picking it up elsewhere. But I have put all of that in one convenient place. If you're interested, check out the link in the description. Okay, Shri says it's a quality assurance supervisor position. So Shri, this was for the meat processing plant. Okay. Now your question was, can you tell me how to do the scenario questions? Well, look, if you were here for the beginning of the live stream, just go on Google, like I showed everyone, go on Google and type in, what was it? Quality assurance coordinator or whatever it was. Type in the Google search box, type in quality assurance coordinator or whatever the job title, and then say job interview. You know what? Let's do this again right now for those of us just joining us. I'm going to see if I can just do this for everybody. Okay, so quality assurance supervisor position. So quality assurance supervisor, and then let's say job interview, or you're looking for, you could type in job interview questions, but you're looking for behavioral questions, something like that, or scenario questions. Well, let's type in scenario. I don't usually use that term. You guys can't even see what I'm doing here. Let's see if I can scroll down a little. No, I can't for some reason. That's really annoying. Here. Okay, so quality assurance, supervisor, job interview. Let's try scenario questions. Quality assurance, supervisor jobs. Yeah, okay, misspelled it. So here you go, right off the hop, they give you some right there, okay? They give you links to, here's an article on Indeed. So it's good. It's probably a bit basic, but 41 Q&A. Wish it would stop giving me these pop-ups. Okay, so here you go. Here's examples, right? So, I mean, just do this kind of thing to figure out the questions they're going to ask you. Okay, very simple to do. Okay, I need more of my Red Bull. Oh yeah, that's good. Gets you right here. Okay, Emmanuel says, hi, how to deal with multiple job offers. That's a good problem to have. That's a problem that most people look forward to. Don't want to screw anything up, but still want to wait for the best offer. Yeah, well, you're encountering one of the fundamental truths of the universe. It's risk versus return. Every job offer is a risk. And, you can only sort of play both sides for so long. After a certain point, you need to decide. And you will not have full and complete information when you decide. You will just have to jump with incomplete information. This is what life is. So unfortunately, there's no way to resolve everything beyond a certain point. You just have to take a calculated risk. Okay. Now, the problem is that if you were to do the forthright thing and say, tell hiring company 1 that you have, you're pursuing an opportunity over here at hiring company 2, unfortunately, that courtesy can be abused, because what has been known is that people can sabotage competing job offers, right? If you tell company 1 and say, like, look, thank you very much for your job offer. I will get back to you in 2 days. Currently, I am considering, it's down between your offer and the offer made by this person at this company who has offered me X, right? The problem with revealing that is that then company 1 can call up company 2 and say, yeah, I've worked with this person before. I heard that you're thinking of hiring them. I wouldn't. They drink on the job. They're totally unreliable. They've got raging addiction problems. Don't hire them. That's just an anonymous tip. You could be making a serious mistake. Goodbye. And sabotage your job offer. So you want to, you're going to have to make a decision, but don't sort of reveal your hand to the other players, okay? Because it has been known that people can play these kind of underhanded games and sabotage job offers. Okay? Over on my second channel, The Company's Expert 2, I know I had at least one video that talks about that exact situation. Amina says, an issue that I faced during interviews is fishing for work ideas and arguably excessive assignments, program plans, policy plans. How do you approach this? Well, listen, it varies by country, depending on what country you're in. And I don't know all the laws, like the employment standards laws of every country, but I know that in Canada and also in the United States, it is illegal to do that. Okay, because what some employers do, some underhanded employers that are unscrupulous, what they'll do is if they have work that needs to be done, right? They need to hire a consultant to solve a problem for them, okay? What some companies do is they post a job. They say, oh, I'm hiring a consultant. And there is no job. What they do is they get a bunch of people with those expertise to come and interview with them. And then in the job interview, as part of their evaluation, they give you an assignment of some kind and say, like, here, do an assessment of this, right? So if you're the professional, you're the consultant, you come in, you do that work for free because it's part of an interview. And then at the end, they don't hire you and they keep your work. And that way they get your work without having to pay you for it, right? Now that is a well-known scam. It's illegal because you're getting someone to work for you without paying them, right? That's at the end of the day, that's what's going on. So know that that is illegal, okay? Like in most countries, or in a lot of countries it is. Check in your own country, okay? Okay? It's very easy to check online for what the labor laws are where you are. Okay? I've talked about that before. I'm not going to get into that now, but it's illegal. So if they're doing that to you in an interview, that's a red flag, okay? What they do is they ghost you, they keep your work, and then, they don't hire you, right? And it's masterfully done. They get you to work for them for free. For like, if they only need one little thing, they get it for free. So, yeah. Now, they can ask you to do exercises and stuff like that, but it can't be legitimate work. It has to be like a made-up thing, a hypothetical thing for an interview. It can't be actual work that then they would use, right? Okay. So as I say, if you have any doubts, find out specifically what the labor laws are for you. Now, you know what? Just for the hell of it, let's do this very quickly. I can do this very quickly. I can only do it for where I am, okay, in Canada, but I know a lot of other countries. I know in the European Union and the United States, it works very similar to this, okay? So let's see if I can pull this up again. There we go. Okay, so for me, it would be, I'm in Manitoba, Canada. So you would say employment standards. Now, in where I am, it's called an act. That's like the law, right? I would just say employment standards and then where you are, Manitoba, Canada. Okay, so they give you something. Now, this is the important thing here, employment standards. Now, this takes you to, I imagine, a government website. Okay, right here. Now, you can't see this whole page, but this is the government website. And what do they have right here? They got a contact telephone number, right? Toll free. So what you can do through this is you can look at the actual laws, okay? If you want to know, like any kind of question about like hiring, when I quit a job, how much notice do I have to give? Do they have to pay me for holidays? How does it work with overtime? How long can they make me work without giving me a break? Questions like that, any kind of question you could ever imagine, that's going to be found in the law, right? And you can get an answer directly. However, what's even easier is to just call the people that are the police for this kind of thing. You don't have to give your name. You just say, hey, I have a question. My employer says this. Is that okay? Do I have to do that? What's the law? And they'll give you an answer right there. So that's something very useful that can help you, because let's face it, a lot of employers are bad. They try to screw people over that play on their ignorance of the law. And there you go. Like, this is the recourse against it. The great thing also is that you can call that same number. And if your employer or a employer is doing something bad that you know is not right, it's not legal, you don't have to give your name. You can give an anonymous tip on them and say, I work for this employer, this company in particular. I'm not going to give you my name, but I can tell you that they're doing this. You might want to investigate. Thanks, goodbye. And these people are the police for these types of laws. So they can go, where I am, they can go into a company, they can do an audit of a company, and they can even shut a company down if they want. So, it's a watchdog system to make sure that companies aren't exploiting people doing illegal things. So, there you go. Someone says, hello, very informative, inspirational conversations. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for being here. Smith, Sir Smith or Senior Smith, and put these skills on my resume. I couldn't have put it better myself. Rebecca German says, how to move on after rejection. Thank you so much for all you do on YouTube. You know what the best way to handle rejection is to have a win right after. Right? So, look, in a perfect world where we were all machines and we didn't feel anything, you would just get right back on the horse. You go out and you get a win, right? However, I think what the thing to do is you've got to take care of your mental health. So if you have a rejection, just take a moment, maybe a day or so, maybe a day or two, depending on what it is. Just do something fun. Try your best to put it out of your mind. I know it's a lot easier said than done, but just force yourself to do something fun. You will not feel like doing something fun. Watch your favorite TV show. Go out with friends. Whatever it is that you do for fun, do it. Force yourself to do it. And you will feel a little bit better. And then you'll be able to get back on the horse and then go out and get a win. And then you'll be fine. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. So, I'm not giving expert advice when it comes to that stuff. But that's just what I think works for a lot of people. Amina says, I'm in Canada. Well, there you go. So it'll be even more similar for you. Avaton, if I'm saying that right. I'm thinking of resigning from my current job, although just 3 months in. How do I justify my decision to my potential future employers without putting them off? Thank you. Listen, there's two problems here. One is, forget about future employers. Is your mental health or your physical health an issue? Okay, because it doesn't matter. Like if a job is just bad for you, it's driving you to an early grave, like it's really bad. It doesn't matter what future employers might think. Get the hell out of there. Okay, if it's come to that. Okay. Okay, so you have to decide that. Then, once you've taken that decision, in my opinion, then you can start worrying about how you spin it to potential future employees. 3 months, for 3 months, you even have the possibility of leaving it off your resume. Like that's more of an extreme solution, but that's still an option for you. If you're working there for 5 years, it might be awkward leaving that off your resume. You know what I'm saying? But 3 months, I wouldn't worry about it. I really wouldn't. And something that, I don't know if this is accurate for you, but something that not a lot of people would have a problem with is when asked about it, you say, well, they gave me the impression, I got the impression the job was something different than it actually was. And so it just wasn't a good match. Okay, that's what I would say. That is exactly how I feel. What has happened to me? I've had so many assignments. They've all kept my work for free. It's exhausting. Yeah, that's also a side effect of going through recruiters. Recruiters love that kind of crap. You go to school for years and years to get qualified in something, and then in order to get a job, they run you through all kinds of technical tests and things. It's like, it's so stupid, It's like as if your educational qualification is not good enough. They have to do their own little test. It's like, it's because they don't know. They don't know what they're doing. Pure and simple. And I can say that. And the great news is that once you get your first career job, usually that kind of crap never happens again. Nobody cares what your grades were at school. Nobody cares about having you do intelligence tests and aptitude tests and psychometrics and teamwork activities. And, you held down a job for at least a year in your chosen profession. That's all anyone needs to know, right? The only other question is, do they like you as a person? That's it. Okay, so once this is over, it's over. You don't have to do this ever again. I'm willing to bet. It's been policy briefs, policy papers, program plans. G says, these live sessions are amazing. Getting answers to my questions from an expert, dream come true. You should try this live thing off and thank you. Well, I mean, I do it once a week. So you could stop by next Wednesday and I'm here. No problem, Mina. Avaton, makes sense. With LinkedIn, it's difficult to leave anything out of a resume. Well, no, you can. You have to choose not to put it on there. It's just that simple. You don't have to put it, like you're not in a court of law. You don't have to reveal things if you don't want to reveal them. You know? I think what you're trying to say is that you feel pressure to reveal it. But that's not the same thing as having to reveal it, right? They would like you to put every detail of your life online. That's what they want you to do. Facebook wants you to do that. LinkedIn wants you to do that. Every online entity wants you to disclose everything. Every recruiter you talk to wants you to disclose absolutely everything, including all the bad stuff that paints you in a bad light. They want to know all of that, okay? It's just like playing a game of poker. You know, poker with the cards, you gamble for money, right? I'm not a poker player, but it's the same idea. The other players would love to see your cards. You know, if you're playing with your family member, you're playing poker against your mom or something, and your mom says, honey, can you show me your cards? You say, oh, okay, it's you, here you go, right? It's like, you're not going to be very successful at poker, right? So it's not about lying and saying things that are false. It's about choosing what to reveal and what not to reveal. You don't have to disclose everything about yourself. And just because somebody asks you in an interview, you may feel a bunch of psychological pressure to answer and accommodate them, but they can ask all kinds of things that they shouldn't be asking, things that are illegal to ask, or things that are perfectly okay to ask, but it's really not within your interest to give them full and complete information, right? For example, when somebody asks you in an interview, what are your weaknesses, right? That's the most obvious example of all. Because what they're saying is, look, I've got to talk to 20 candidates today, right? And I've got to choose one. And I've got to sort of, have some criteria to eliminate people. I got to eliminate 19 of the 20. So listen, what's wrong with you? Why are you not a good choice? Please tell me. And you say, oh, well, one of my problems is I'm a terrible worker. I'm lazy. I get really upset when I don't get my way. I'm petty. I judge people on their appearance. I talk way too much. I find it hard to focus on my job. I drink way too much alcohol than I should. And I've got lots of psychological hangups. And then you feel good. You feel like I'm doing great at this interview because I'm answering every one of these questions that they're asking me. I succeeded in giving a good answer to that question. And they say, thank you very much. That was a great answer to my question. You gave me everything I wanted to know. Now, thank you. We'll be in touch. And then they ghost you and you're eliminated, right? For your troubles. So it's not like you're going to lie. It's just that you're going to choose not to reveal that stuff voluntarily. Okay. Now, if you kind of don't believe me or you're kind of skeptical about this, go find someone who's a salesperson and talk to them about what they do. Okay. Because like it or not, you're in a sales type situation. You're selling yourself. Right? That's what it is. Like it or not, that's what it is. Now, I didn't come up through sales. Okay. Sales is not my core competency, but having run businesses and built businesses, it's a necessary evil. And this is just like any other sales type situation. You're going to try and give them great reasons to hire you, and you're going to try and avoid saying anything that would make someone think twice about hiring you, right? So if they ask you, why did you leave this job? Like I said in the last video I did, you say, well, I'm just ready to do more. I'm just ready to do more. And then you start talking about this job. I think I could be a great fill in the blank. That's what I really want to do, right? You're giving them positive reasons. You're not saying, when they ask you, why did you leave your last job? You say, oh, I hated my boss. I did not get along with him. I hate people that tell me what to do. Can you believe that person had the gall to tell me that I had to work harder? Don't you just hate people like that, right? You don't say stuff like that. Okay, I'll get off my rant here. Where did I leave off here? How do you feel less nervous in an interview? Oh, people keep asking the same question over and over again. Practice. Go and rewind the live stream to like half an hour ago. I just talked about that for like 20 minutes. Simple answer is practice. Do mock interviews with a friend or a family member and do many of them over and over and over and over. Okay? Great, there's 25 people here. I seem to have lost about half my audience in the course of that last little speech I went on. That's always great to know. Amina, 5+. Yeah. Okay. Kat, is that how you say that? Kat or K-A-T? Hi, company is doing structural changes, meaning that I will be moved to a different department, a different position, different salary. But managers don't say when it will happen, who will be the new manager. Yeah, that's typical. Unfortunately, that's the magic of corporate life. I feel weird about it, and I think I should be involved or at least informed about those changes. Is this a normal practice? Yes. How can I put this delicately? You are a slave. And I don't mean that in an offensive way. I mean, that's the situation. The people that own the company, the people that run the company, they make the decisions. And the only control you have is whether you want to take the deal that they offer you. Okay? They're saying, this is what we need. This is the position that we need filled. Do you want it? Take it or leave it. You always have the right to say, no, screw you. This doesn't work for me. Goodbye. But beyond that, you really don't have, aside from assuming this company is obeying the law, okay, there's no real other power that you have. That's the life of a worker, right? Or an employee. That's why a lot of people, when they get to 10, 20 years into their career, they try and make a change. They're not comfortable with working like that for the rest of their career. Some people are lucky to be in a very stable industry where you could have a nice cushy job for your entire career and you don't have to worry about this stuff. But what you're experiencing is typical, okay? Companies are changing all the time. Some of them are running into problems and they have to switch up what they're doing because it's not working. And that's the reason for the restructuring, which basically means we're going to fire a bunch of people and then reassign others. Other times, they're crushing it, they're winning, they're making a lot of money, but they still have to adjust what they're doing to be better, be even better, okay? And anticipate the next thing that's going to come along, okay? So that also requires restructuring, where they have to change jobs, change positions, and change how they operate, okay? So unfortunately, that's a common thing, okay? Now, usually in those situations, the communication is terrible, okay? It's terrible intentionally for a variety of reasons. If you tell people that in 6 months, you're going to be laying everyone off, what will happen is people will act in their own interests, as we all do, and they will start looking for jobs now. They will stop caring about their job now, and they will probably leave early. They won't wait 6 months. If they can get a good job now somewhere else, they will jump ship now. And the company doesn't want that because that doesn't serve their interest. So to manage that, they don't disclose this, right? That's how that stuff works. I could get into that, but that's a little bit off topic. But you are not unusual. That's something perfectly normal. You have to look out for yourself. So if you can apply for other jobs or you can change up what you're doing, get other options, okay, get other job offers or, start networking and do other things. go for it. Okay. Because they are looking out for themselves. You need to look out for yourself. If these changes occur and you land on your feet and it's fine, great. But it might be a good idea to have a backup if things go south. That way you have peace of mind. Whatever happens with this company and this restructuring, you'll be okay. So just some stuff to throw out there. Smith, I have no experience but a degree in econ, like economics. Should I learn more? Like Excel, Python, Ski? Well, it depends what your goals are. What are your goals? It's hard to know what to do if you don't have a goal. You need to have a goal first, and then you can determine what to do. Now, if your goal is to get a well-paying job or a decent paying job as quickly as possible, then maybe brushing up on IT type skills may be the thing to do. I don't know. You'd have to do research where you are. Okay. I mean, it's impossible to say whether it makes sense to do something if you don't know what you're trying to achieve. Carpenterson. I'm 10 years in the aviation industry. My company now starts to struggle. Should I leave or stay for probably better days? Well, I can't answer that for you. I mean, that depends on a lot of details. What is, like what I just said also applies to this. It doesn't hurt to have other options. So you could start looking for other options, but you may not need those options. That's all I can say. I'll write it again. Great inspirational content. Thank you. Thank you, Avaton. I appreciate that. David says, I have a panel interview next week. Any comments on how to prepare for these? Your videos have been very helpful for me. Two things for a panel interview. First of all, number one, they're basically the same as a one-on-one interview. It just that the questions are coming from multiple people. Other than that, they're pretty much the same. Okay. So don't stress about it. The fact that it's a panel interview, it really makes no difference. Okay. They end up asking you the same types of questions as if it was just a single person. Okay. There's no fundamental difference. Secondly, what can really help is if you happen to know the individuals that are going to be at the panel interview. Okay. You know their names. Look them up on LinkedIn, find out who they are. Okay, if you know somebody's a recruiter or somebody's a marketing person or somebody's an accountant, that's going to really help. That'll help you frame your answers to the questions that these individuals ask you. Okay? Okay, accountants care about different things than marketing people. Okay, recruiters care about different things than, a hiring manager, for example. Okay, so knowing who the people are, that can really help. So I would do that. I'm a big fan of having papers at an interview. I know it's 2022, but I still would use paper. I would come with a copy of my resume. I'd come with a copy of the job description. And I'd come with, some sheets of blank paper so you can write notes if necessary and a pen. And I would also write down the names of the people and just, by their name, I'd say accountant, salesperson, recruiter, hiring manager, stuff like that. So, and write it so that if you're sitting across the table from these people, you can see who's whom, right? And that'll help. Now, beyond that, there's nothing you really have to do any different for a panel interview, okay? So if you've never been in a panel interview, don't stress about it. HR asked me, do you enjoy work? I said, yes. Then return question is, why are you looking for change then? How to answer such questions. And you could give 20 different answers to that. Okay. So do you enjoy work? Yes. Now, are they talking about specific work or just work in general? So if they said, okay, and you said, yes, I enjoy work. And they said, why are you looking for change? And you say I like I like advancing and learning new things and developing new skills. So I become more capable and more things are within the realm of possibility for me. You know, I also have a sense of accomplishment when I learn something and I find out how something works because it's empowering. Now that I know how it works and how to do it, I have that capability. I'm more potent. And it alleviates boredom. It makes you more capable, and you grow as a person and develop skills. I mean, it's hard to think of a more general answer to that. But I mean, if they're talking about a specific job, do you enjoy doing this work? Working at a meatpacking plant as a quality assurance coordinator. You say, yes, I enjoy that type of work. Why are you looking for change then? And he's saying like, well, now that I understand the fundamentals of this, I'm interested in orchestrating it at a slightly higher level. I find that interesting. I find that taking those fundamental skills to a higher level, is quite fascinating, actually. I want to see how this stuff plays out at a higher level and what I can bring to the table. Now, if they want more specifics, you'd have to ask a more specific question. But I mean, you could say all this kind of stuff. Like what they're probing for is they want to see that if they were to give you this job, would you do well? Now, to do well, you have to enjoy it to a degree. If you hate what you do, chances are you're not going to be good at it, okay? Your performance will not be great if you hate what you do, okay? Secondly, the job is not going to be fun all the time. No job is going to be fun all the time. So when the job does become tedious or annoying, are you going to be able to still perform? Or are you the type of person that's going to quit and say, look, you know what? This job sucks. I'm not into this anymore. I'm looking for something else, right? They don't want that. They want someone that's going to stay there. Okay? They also want to know, do you work with people and all this other stuff? But this question is tailored to, are you going to be able to stay in this job despite what you do, the nature of the work? That's what they're looking for. And the answer is yes. Yes. Remember, the default is to say that, yes, this job that I'm up for, it's what I really want to do. I enjoy it. I get many different things out of it, right? A great answer to something like that is like, well, it's not really change. I mean, it's change. I'm still doing the same fundamental type of work that I know that I enjoy and I know that I'm good at. This is maybe a slightly different situation, but it's basically the same job. Now, when it comes to that slightly different situation, that change, as they put it, then I would go into the answer I gave, I want to grow. I want to do more. I find it interesting. I find it fascinating. When you enjoy something, you want to learn more about it. It's as simple as that. David says, thank you. In this case, it most likely will be a marketing folks, and I probably get a salesperson. And it will be all virtual, so I will keep some paper notes. Thanks. Yeah, a lot of stuff is virtual. Since 2020, it's been mainly virtual. We don't seem to be heading away from that very quickly. I mean, a lot of things, they didn't need to be face-to-face in person, like in the beginning. Just like working in the office. You could do your job from home. A lot of times, but they'd still make you go into the office, right? And the only reason they do that is because they don't trust you, right? So your boss can keep tabs on you and police you. It was stupid to begin with. When you try and build company culture, you try and not create that situation. You try your best to not do that. Sometimes it's unavoidable, but you try your best not to be in that situation. So it's just strange that now they're wanting to try and get that situation back. I find it kind of interesting. John Miller says, great channel, congrats. Should I have a LinkedIn profile if I don't have a degree? Definitely, yes. Yes. Yeah, I mean, if you're a professional person and like depending on what we're talking about, degrees are not essential. I mean, don't get me wrong. They certainly help in specific situations, definitely. And sometimes they're absolutely essential. And like, if you want to be a doctor doing heart surgery, you need a medical degree. But, for a lot of other jobs, this whole kaleidoscope of jobs that are out there, like you want to be, like something I did, you want to be the locomotive maintenance coordinator for a repair shop. Is there a qualification for that? No. Right? Now, could you do that job? What would you need to do that job? Well, you could be a mechanic, I suppose. If you were an accountant, that might help. If you were, a sort of people leader, that might help. If you came up through supply chain and understood like supply chain for parts and logistics, that would be good. So which one is it? Well, the reality is that all of them would be able to contribute something to the job. Maybe you don't have any qualifications, but you have 20 years working in a locomotive repair shop. You started off by sweeping the floors. Then you moved to working in the warehouse. Then you ended up running the parts desk. Then you ended up being the coordinator of all the repair people. You might not have a degree or a qualification, but you have a hell of a lot of experience. Would you be able to bring something to the job? Of course. Right? So you'd be a candidate for a lot of different positions. So yeah, you should have a LinkedIn profile. You could still use it to network virtually, contact all kinds of managers of locomotive repair shops and say, hey, I can do this if you're looking for somebody. And they say, hey, we're actually hiring. I've got to fill 3 positions by next week. Why don't you come down? We'll talk. Right? So yeah, it's definitely useful to have a LinkedIn profile. Amina says, you touched upon engaging with companies for the purposes of connecting/references in a previous question. Would inquiring about informational interviews with companies be a good approach? Of course it would. Yes. Yes. My course talks about that. I have built, like the thing that I do now, I don't have a job. I have my own consulting business. And I built that by doing exactly what you said in that paragraph question. I built a consulting business by networking using LinkedIn. So yes, you can do it. And yes, informational interviews are something that's incredibly useful. The problem is when I talk about it, most people are not really into it. So it's not kind of a mainstream thing, but it's definitely useful. It's sort of like the higher end networking skills. Okay. The networking that I talk of is when you network with executives, okay, higher level people. There's no point in networking with workers on the worker level. For the most part, there's no point in, because they don't really know anything, in terms of like career opportunities. There's no point in networking with people in the middle, like middle managers, because they're too busy to like add networking with people they don't know. And besides, once again, they don't really have a lot. I mean, they might have some job opportunities and things, but it's really minimal. But they're just not. They're not set up to do networking. That's not part of their job. The people you network with are executives. First of all, executives are set up to network. That is part of their job. And like I've said before, they're routinely contacted by people they don't know. People from the press, people from the government, potential investors, potential partners, potential vendors, potential suppliers. You know what I mean? Other players in that industry, associations. They're contacted by a variety of people. Politicians are contacted by a variety of people that they don't know, and it's their job to handle those queries. Because if you say like, no, I don't know you, screw off. That could have been somebody putting out feelers to enter into $1 million, business contract with you or business arrangement. And because you rebuffed them in such a blunt way, They'd be like, screw you, I'm going to go partner with your competitor, right? So I mean, or it could have been free press. There could have been like, some journalist that was wanting to do an article about your company and how you're a success story in the local economy. And, like this would be great PR. You don't get anywhere by saying, what, who are you? Why are you contacting me? Go away. You don't get anywhere by having that reaction, right? So if someone approaches you professionally, and say like, would you be able to spare, say, 30 minutes of your valuable time? I'd just very much like to get your expert opinion on, some changes that are happening in the industry and, what your take is on them. I'd very much appreciate it. Thank you very much. Let me know if that's possible. Something like this, a lot of people will respond to that, and a lot of people have. And it's funny because, when I say this on the internet, a lot of people give me an argument on this. It's like, you can't argue with me. I've done this. I've built a business doing this. So you're not going to convince me that it's not true or something. But yeah, it's an incredible tool. And to me, it's an extension of a lot of people skills and interpersonal skills that you start out learning, with things like job interviews and things like contacting recruiters. It can turn into this stuff. And I've taught this in university. I've taught, classrooms full of people how to do this. And I've made them go and contact CEOs of companies in their hometown. And they've done it. And I gave them bonus points for getting a selfie, shaking the CEO's hand, and did a lot of that stuff. So yeah, it's totally a thing.